The Biden administration unveiled new regulations for an extensive network of electric vehicle charging stations on Thursday. The Biden administration's efforts to persuade more Americans to switch to electric vehicles have recently made progress in this regard. Want to know more about it? Then stay tuned till the end. Welcome to Techmo. In today's video, we are going to share with you President Biden's plans for nationwide EV charging expansion. But before we make it to the video, make sure you subscribe to our channel for more premium content and hit the notification bell to be the first to watch our videos. A crucial component of the bipartisan infrastructure law, the Biden-Harris administration is announcing new initiatives to achieve President Biden's goal of constructing the first ever national network of 500,000 electric vehicle chargers along American highways and in communities. To make charging electric vehicles easy, dependable, and affordable for all Americans, including when traveling long distances, the Department of Transportation and the Department of Energy are putting forth new standards. Without rigid standards, chargers might be less dependable, incompatible with all cars, or lacking in widely accepted payment options. No matter what kind of car you drive or what state you charge in, the new standards will guarantee that everyone can use the network. The proposed standards support President Biden's priorities to lower costs for families, create well-paying jobs, and combat climate change, along with new coordinated federal actions on EVs. He is putting pressure on the Congress to pass his proposal for tax credits that will lower the cost of EVs, protecting the budgets of the families from the effects of fluctuating gas prices. The actions will lead to well-paying jobs with substantial labor demand for American laborers, electricians, and steel workers to construct, install, and maintain the network. Additionally, increasing the availability of chargers and EVs will aid in the fight against the climate crisis by lowering emissions, improving air quality, and advancing the President's Justice 40 initiative. Since President Biden took office, EV sales have doubled, and there are now more than 2 million EVs and 100,000 chargers on the road as a result of his bold vision, leadership, and actions. Through two programs, the $7.5 billion for EV charging infrastructure in President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law will create a practical and fair charging network. The National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure will give the U.S. $5 billion in formula funding to expand the charging network along highway corridors, filling in any gaps in rural, underserved, and difficult-to-reach areas while fostering public trust in charging. The minimum requirements and standards in place today will direct the U.S. in how to use federal funds in a way that ensures chargers operate uniformly from state to state, are simple to locate, use, and pay for, and are affordable regardless of who operates chargers. Additionally, $2.5 billion in competitive grants are made available by the bipartisan infrastructure law to support community and corridor charging, enhance local air quality, and expand EV charging access in underserved and overburdened areas. Later this year, DOT will begin accepting applications for this program. A user-friendly, cost-effective, and financially viable national EV charging network is being built out. And these federal charging programs were created to encourage additional private sector investments that complement those efforts. In order to speed up the adoption of EVs and generate high-paying jobs in manufacturing, installation, and operation, President Biden's leadership is coordinating public and private charging investments. These chargers will also guarantee that the cars we drive can be powered by the new renewable electricity sources like solar and wind, and lower family energy costs. In order to collaborate with states, business titans, manufacturers, and other stakeholders to achieve the president's objectives, the bipartisan infrastructure law also established the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation. In addition, the Department of Transportation released a rural EV toolkit to help ensure that all Americans, regardless of where they live, have the opportunity to benefit from the lower operating costs, reduced maintenance needs, and improved performance that come with this electric transformation. Vice President Harris also launched an EV charging action plan to speed up federal investments and target equity benefits for disadvantaged communities. These investments will build a public charging system that satisfies our objectives of being dependable, affordable, equitable, and seamless between states and networks, guided by the standards proposed today. Additionally, they will use workforce standards like the Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Training Program to improve the usability and safety of charging stations, resulting in the creation of well-paying union jobs across the nation. In order to make recommendations regarding the development, adoption, and integration of light, medium, and heavy-duty electric vehicles into the transportation and energy systems of the U.S., including on infrastructure issues, the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation announced the formation of a new federal advisory committee called the EV Working Group. In the upcoming months, the 25 members will be chosen. The Joint Office also disclosed a collaboration with the American Public Power Association, Edison Electric Institute, and National Rural Electric Cooperative Association to support EV charging, which will help state planning and inform investment in the electric system. To support the rollout of the public charging network, the Department of Energy announced the allocation of $45 million through its EV for All program for the development of extremely fast charging batteries. Additionally, they are preparing a number of funding proposals for initiatives that provide EV charging options for motorists who lack access to home charging or who reside in underserved areas. Up to $30 million in funding opportunities are anticipated by the DOE's Vehicle Technologies Office to support clean energy mobility pilots and demonstration in underserved and rural areas. The opportunity will look for projects to deploy EV charging solutions for drivers without access to home charging, with underserved communities to create plans for EV charging that are driven by the community and install EV chargers in strategic locations to benefit underserved communities the most. To help those looking to switch to electric vehicles, the Department of Agriculture created an infographic on funding eligibility and an EV charging resource guide for rural property owners, states and territories, tribes, municipalities, cooperatives, and nonprofit organizations. They also created a guide for climate-smart schools that provides details on how to pay for charging in rural school districts. In order to address EV supply equipment and associated charging infrastructure, USDA also signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Department of Energy for federal agencies and other qualified users to easily purchase a variety of EV chargers and services at federally owned, managed, and occupied facilities. The General Services Administration developed blanket purchase agreements in order to ensure that buildings are prepared to handle new charging infrastructure and optimize existing chargers. They also published a guide to building owners that explains the relationship between EV charging and building electricity loads. The GSA is collaborating closely with the Department of Energy through their Green Proving Ground program to install and pilot EV charging innovations, such as managed and bidirectional charging, at specific GSA facilities and to hasten market acceptance. In order to install EV charging stations at about 60 Veterans Affairs locations, GSA is also working to establish an interagency agreement with the Department of Veterans Affairs. A national strategy for electrifying their government fleets, public serving transit fleets, and public use charging infrastructure is being developed by the National Park Service's Multidisciplinary EV Working Group. With $33 million in funding from the Department of Transportation Nationally Significant Federal Lands and Tribal Projects Program, they are in the process of switching the transit fleet of Zion National Park to battery electric buses, with plans to pursue the same program to electrify transit at Grand Canyon National Park the following year. In order to close charging gaps in corridors and routes that act as entranceways to national parks, NPS is also collaborating with state DOTs. Through a number of its housing financing programs, the Department of Housing and Urban Development has continued to support the inclusion of EV charging infrastructure as part of its green building standards. Additionally, as part of their Green Mortgage Insurance Premium Incentive, reducing annual premiums for participants, they are looking into the installation of EV chargers in multifamily rental housing. Through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, the Environmental Protection Agency established the Clean School Bus Program to replace the nation's fleet of polluting diesel buses with clean, American-made zero-emission vehicles. Schools can use some of the $500 million that the EPA released in the first round of funding for this $5 billion program to develop the necessary EV charging infrastructure for these new clean school buses. Additionally, the EPA's Energy Star program now offers 300 different Level 2 EV charger products. The Department of Commerce is encouraging foreign direct investment in American manufacturers of EV charging and supply equipment, as well as supporting the expansion of the domestic EV charging supply chain. They will highlight investment opportunities in EV charging that have been stimulated by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law at the 2022 Select USA Investment Summit, which will be held at the end of June and is the highest profile event promoting foreign direct investment in the United States. So that's all for today's video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to watch more videos like this one, then hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that you will always be notified.